Tonight here at the Dam, it's the Beavers welcoming the Campbell County Cougars, a clash of old rivals. The Karns Beavers, the Campbell County Cougars. Jim Freeman along with head coach Taylor Ownbey. And it's the Cougars' most wins, coach, have come over the Karns Beavers.
Okay, well, that's something that I did not know, but it's going to be a tough matchup. Those guys, they pose a lot of threats, especially on special teams. Their offense and defense, just watching their film, they're well coached, and it's going to take a great effort by us to come out on top.
Both teams coming in 0-2. Both teams really hungry for a victory tonight.
Oh, that's definitely right. It's one of those things where big things just don't come easy. So it's one of those things where we're just going to keep fighting for every inch in order to get that win on the scoreboard. So I know our guys are excited about this week. It's kind of like a rivalry week for that. So they're extra excited. They Region 1. That's what I told them. I said it doesn't really matter about those other two losses at this point. It's one of those things where we got to come out and play well against our region opponents. So,
first region game of the season, and coach, you're road warriors now. You've had 2 road games, long trips, so this is kind of a walk in the park just coming over to Karns tonight.
That's exactly right. We're used to the fact of traveling, but we're excited about this opportunity coming up on Friday, and hopefully we come out with a win, and hopefully we come out and play well enough to win, and then of course get that home opener. Let that get excited about those guys coming home and playing for a home crowd.
Well, it'd be big to get the win Friday night at Karns and then come home in a week to take on the Central Bobcats here on Reynolds Field. The Cougars' last 2 games, from game 1 to game 2, Coach, what have you seen improvement-wise and some things that you maybe like about your team from those first 2 games?
I think, we've come out pretty hot early. It's one of those things where we got to continue to, work as far as dealing with, just the ups and downs of the game, the ebb and flow. And I think that just comes from being a young team like we've talked about. And it's one of those things where, a big play like that fumble recovery for a touchdown right there before the half with about 6 minutes to go, we got to overcome that kind of stuff. We can't just let it, landslide into, a bad day. But, I think we've come out pretty well. Hopefully we do the same thing, but hopefully we can do it for 4 quarters this time.
What are we seeing with regard to Karns when you've watched the film on this team? Obviously, they're pretty good up front with that front line on offense and defense, do you think?
I would agree. I think they're all around a very good football team. I think their record shows, doesn't show what type of football team they are. They're very well coached. They've got athletes everywhere, and they've, they're very physical up front. So like I've talked about before is, the physical team most of the time wins the football game. So that's hopefully, that'll be us, and hopefully we can continue to grow as a team.
Karns coach is a defensive coordinator, now head coach. You're a defensive coordinator, now head coach. We're going to see any offense tonight?
I don't know. It's one of those things where we just, we continue to work on both sides of the ball, and special teams especially, because they're very well coached on the special teams side of it. But, I'm always in for, like a 7-6 game or something like that, just being a defensive guy. I don't like seeing a lot of points on the board as far as, the other team, obviously. But, hopefully we can come out and score some points, and hopefully we can stop them.
Your quarterback, Eli Lawson, you've talked about him quite a bit this season. He continues to progress for you, it appears.
He's done a great job. What people don't see is just the day-to-day stuff, the practice stuff, the leadership that he's, I guess it just comes natural because, he's not been here since I think it was the spring. So it's one of those things where it just comes natural to him. He does a great job. He leads the team by example, which is the best type of leadership. He does a great job in that aspect, and he's just continuing to grow. And hopefully, as the season progresses, he'll do the same thing.
We can't name everybody, but here are some of the other names of the Cougars that have stepped up that are coming around for you this season.
I'd have to say Austin Jordan's done a great job. Jake Lawson, just those. To be honest with you, just those seniors. They're coming into 3 head coaches in 3 years, and so it's one of those things where it's one of those things where we had to get them on board, and I think they are on board, and I think they're doing a great job as far as that. I think they're doing a great job leading. I think they're doing a great job, from the day-to-day aspect, just working hard in practice and doing that kind of stuff. But I'd have to say those other two guys are doing a great job leading.
Coach, obviously 2 games in the books, a 3rd game here tonight. How much weight room activity do you have during the regular season, say a week like this week?
We lift about just every day. If something happens with the weather and it pushes us out of the weight room, we make adjustments that way. But we try to get at least 1 or 2 lifts in a day. That's a firm foundation for our football team, and that's one thing that that's where you win football games is in the weight room. So we don't try to get out of the weight room and try to practice too much as far as that's concerned, or skip the weight room to go practice. We try to make adjustments that way, but we try to get into the weight room as much as possible.
And I guess with the new weight room, that probably is a lot of incentive on top of just wanting to be a better football player.
Oh, it's a great aspect of our program. I would encourage everybody to come by and look at it. I mean, it's one of those things where, it's one of the top weight rooms around, to be honest with you. And, we're still waiting on a few pieces of the puzzle in there, but, we got our weights in. We're starting to, move the weights around a little bit more than we used to. But just having it up here and the facility-wise, I mean, it's a great aspect of our program.
Well, the task at hand tonight, Karns, if you had to point to maybe 3 keys, what might they be tonight for your Cougars?
Offense, defense, and special teams. I'm telling you, it's those 3 aspects. And I'd almost emphasize the special teams a little bit more just because of how well they do on those special teams. So, we put a little bit of emphasis on that this week. So we're going to do that today as well. But, those 3 are the key points.
You got it, Coach. Coach, thanks for your time. Have fun tonight. We'll see you after the game.
Appreciate it. Go Cougars.
It's Campbell County here at Karns at the Dam to take on the Beavers. Stay connected. The kickoff in just moments. This is the Bullock Law Firm Countdown to Kickoff on the WLAF Dulles Tire Shop Sports Network.